Okay, this video is going to be about the new headgear that Miller has come out with. In case you're not familiar, the headgear goes inside your welding helmet, and it's right here, and I'll just kind of show it to you. This piece right here determines how the helmet sits on your head. If you have this adjusted way out, then your helmet will go down further on your head. If you do it shallow, then it rises up a little higher. This right here is a sweat band, goes against your forehead, and then here is the pivot points. And the headgear basically allows you to flip the helmet up when you're not welding, and then when you're welding, you can flip it down. Now, with these new auto shades, they've been out for probably 10 years plus, but anyway, a lot of helmets don't have those, but the auto shade actually eliminates a lot of that flipping of the helmet up and down. It used to be you had a fixed shade and you almost couldn't even see your work when it was down, so welders would flip their helmet up, position their work, and then they would just kind of snap their neck a little bit, and it would just fall down. The helmet would fall down. But so the headgear is still, used in that fashion. It's just not something that you do very often if you've got the auto shade, because you can see your work and you don't have to keep flipping back and forth. But it is convenient still to flip your helmet back up and down. So this is a Hobart helmet, and the headgear that came with the helmet is really, I would classify it as a piece of junk. It had one single pin in it, and you can see where the pin was. The pin goes right in here. It's snapped off. Okay, and there's a series of 3 holes, and what that does is that sets the height that the helmet is going to go down. If you have it set wrong, when you flip your helmet down, sometimes it'll just smack you in the chest, and it hurts. Just give you a little quick pain there. But and if you don't have it set correctly, then you can't get your helmet high enough. But this is an ancient design. I never liked it. I've had this helmet. I think the helmet's great. The shading is great. It's just this headgear. So Miller came out with a new headgear, and of course they want you to buy a new helmet. The headgear is relatively inexpensive. I found it at a local welding store from about $23 to $27, depending on which store. So shop around. You can save a few bucks. And then you can see, I'll zoom in here and show you the part number. Sorry about that. I'm not sure that you can actually see that. There we go. So that's the part number on this new headgear. Okay, so what you want to do is, if you buy this headgear and try to put it in an older helmet, what you'll find is right here where it attaches, the holes are different. On this old setup right here, when you take off the headgear, what you see is this hole, and it's kind of a slotted hole. That also allows adjustment because you can move the helmet this way or that way depending on your body, where you want it positioned in your body. And I'm just taking this one apart. Like I said, this one's a piece of junk, this headgear. You might save it for spare parts if you've got more than one welding helmet. I've got a couple, so I probably won't throw it away right now. But anyway, the new helmet has this really neat device here, and you push this and it slips on this track, and you can move it fore and aft by simply pushing this. So you don't have to loosen this up. And one of the pitfalls of this style helmet was that when you loosen this up, not only did it move forward and backwards, but it also loosened the ratcheting system. And then when you were constantly flipping back and forth, because they were both right-hand drive or right-hand threads, when you tightened it, when you flipped it back and forth, one would loosen and one would tighten. And it was just a pain always having to spin these around to get them the right tension. So the new helmet eliminates that. It has a different sort of mounting point. And you can see here the knurled adjusting nut here. There's an O-ring. And the O-ring helps to keep the tension on. So when you're flipping back and forth, this thing doesn't loosen and tighten. And then when you pull this assembly out, but you see this is a washer, and it's got a square cutout there that fits actually on this shaft, and that keeps this stationary. But this is really the key here to being able to retrofit this to an older helmet, is getting this hole onto this helmet. And you've got to do it in such a way that when the helmet's down, it's in the right position, and then when it goes all the way up, it's in the right position. So I'm going to retrofit this, and I'll show you exactly how I go about doing it. Okay, so the first thing I did was I'm going to need to take this piece here, and I'm going to have to take that shape and transfer it over to my hood right there, my welding helmet. So the way I did it was I took a piece of paper. Now this is just a brown grocery sack paper bag, and what I did was I put it over the piece and used it as a template. So I put this piece of paper over there, basically like this, and then I pushed really hard and got the imprint. And then I used some scissors, some real fine scissors, and cut it out so that this matches my piece right there like that. Now I'm going to transfer this over to the helmet, and then I'm going to file it out very carefully. You could do it with a Dremel, but file it out very carefully so that it fits. And I have to do that to both sides, and in order to get the new headgear assembly to work. And I'll caution you now, because these are oriented a certain way on the helmet, and if you don't get the orientation right, your helmet's not going to flip up and down correctly, and you're just going to ream this hole out, and you probably won't get more than one chance to do it correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this over to the helmet. I'll file it out, and then I'll show you exactly how it looks on my helmet to give you an idea of how to do it on yours. So here's the label, and you can see it says replacement headgear on it, and it's from Miller. Now I found out that they had this headgear, and so I went out to go purchase it, and what I found was at the local welding store there was a gentleman there who tried to tell me that there was another model of headgear and that was the latest style. Don't believe him. This is the latest style, and it has two bands that go over your head. So this would be the style that you want, and I found this to be really nice ratcheting headgear. In order to file that, I've decided to use my Dremel, and it's actually a Dremel, but it's actually Craftsman all-in-one cutting tool. They call it a roto trim, and it comes with a bunch of different fittings, but I'm going to use this kind of like a dentist drill, and I've got this little tip here to eat away at the plastic. It's just much faster than filing, and then I'm going to follow it up with a small hand file. So let me get that hole cut out. So here's the hole that I've now filed, and what I ended up doing was I Dremeled a lot of it, but you have to watch out because the Dremel can dig in really quickly. And then so I used an assortment of files. Basically, this file, it's a Harbor Freight file, but it's only serrated on the edges. This doesn't have any teeth at all on either side, and I use that for the notch right here to do the notch on the helmet. And then mostly I use this file and this file. So let me show you how it looks, how it snaps in. So we get the piece, and it will snap in just like that. So that's a relatively tight fit. You can see that over here there's a little bit of a gap, but it shouldn't have any effect once you tighten down the clamp. So once again, we put it in like that, and it snaps in, and it's all the way in. So now I'll put the headgear on, and then I'll ratchet it and determine where the other one, the orientation of the other piece. But here you can see this is what it looks like. And I followed the contour of the Hobart hole, which was right there. So I didn't touch this side at all, and I just filed on this side. And of course, these two notches aren't held in any way. Okay, so this side, you can see that the oval would have gone this way. So what I ended up doing was notching it in an angle, and once again, this is at the top. So it goes in, this piece goes in like that. And I'll show you what it looks like later. Okay, so here's the finished product, and happy to report that it works the way it should. So you can snap your hood and it falls down, stays in place, and these knobs do not get loose, and that's because they added some extra O-rings in there. That might be a quick fix if you want to just try to keep your knobs from coming loose all the time. But it works great. And last little tip, it's a little wool snap-on sweatband. Highly recommend it. It's great, it's comfortable. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it.